Hi, I'm James with Curtis, and I'm here with Jeff Steefel of Turbine Games, and we're talking about Infinite Crisis. So, what does Infinite Crisis have that other MOBAs don't?
Batman.
Your universe is not alone. It is but one of infinite worlds, each an altered version of the others. From the beginning of time, they have existed apart. This is the day they collide.
Let's talk about kind of the setting and the universes that Infinite Crisis is taking place. It's a very interesting narrative to kind of get some of these awesome Batmans in the game. So why don't you just walk us through that?
Well, so basically, DC had already created the idea of the multiverse and multiple types of universes. So that was the basis for us to bring characters in from all these different universes. So not only do we have Batman, but we have Gaslight Batman, who's basically a Batman from a steampunk sort of Gotham. We've got Nightmare Batman, who's sort of a vampire version of Batman. And we can apply this to sort of all the characters. So you can imagine all different types of Wonder Women, or the Joker. You imagine Joker from a Gaslight world, or Joker from some kind of, post-apocalyptic world. We announced yesterday we had about 6 worlds that we're starting with, and then we have 52 to go. Let's see, 52 minus 6. So,
oh boy.
So it gives us a huge amount of depth, right? We can have all different types of characters, and if you're into Batman, you can play Batman, but you can play with the play style that you like, right? So you're not stuck to one way of playing the game. Same thing, Wonder Woman. Maybe I want to be a tank, maybe I want to be a support role, but I'm still get to play Wonder Woman. I don't have to make that hard choice. So one big thing we're focused on is what we call destructive PvP. So, you're going to be in a map much like you'd expect in a MOBA, but now you have an opportunity for things to change slightly in the map. I'm playing a superhero, supervillain. I expect things to break. I want some destruction. If I throw something up against a wall, I want that wall to break, right? If I see a car and I have super strength, I want to be able to pick it up and throw it at you. So you actually can do that in our game. You can pick up a car and throw it. You can rip a telephone pole off the ground and beat someone over the head with it. And it gives us an opportunity to have a much more dynamic environment that you're in. The trick is providing that to you, but leaving kind of the laning and the basic strategic, planning the same in the game. We've also have something called catastrophic events. So in addition to the environment itself being destructible, we have these events that just kind of happen during a match. So in the thing that we're showing today, we've got a meteor that's coming crashing out of the sky. I think you saw that.
I did.
And it is something that players can sort of prepare for, get used to. It's much like playing in a sporting event, like in like football, right? So you're playing the quarterback and you look across at the other team and they're starting to shift around right before the snap. Well, you can call an audible and basically do the things that you practiced. Okay, we know what happens when this happens. We can take advantage of this and actually, get one up on the other team. It's exactly the same thing, right? You get to learn how these catastrophic events work, and they create new opportunities, right? Either sort of a new path through the jungle, or maybe it's creating some kind of artifact that you can use to add buffs to your team, or maybe it's weakened to structure. So for example, you can use the whole map as part of your gameplay. It can be part of the weapon, right? So there's a bridge, maybe it's been weakened by the meteor. So you get the other team to walk underneath it, you can knock that bridge down and actually kill them.
Talk to me about the itemization in the game. I know that there's a lot of MOBAs out there, and there's kind of a popular group of items, I would say, that people kind of expect in these now, that they just kind of base their characters. It's an ADC, it's a support, it's a tank. I'm going to need this item that gives me a ton of health. So how, when you were developing the items in the game, did you recognize that, or maybe forge your own path?
Well, certainly the strategy is very similar, and we don't want to reinvent the wheel for players. We want them to be able to come in, sit down, and really feel like they understand how to play the game. That said, because this is DC, we actually call the upgrade items artifacts. These are things that are coming sort of from the DC lore. They have some kind of meaning, in terms of DC background. We also have what we call amplifiers. So at the account level, this is outside the match, you're still going to be applying upgrades to your character, things that actually can augment what's happening in the game. So the slight difference is that some of your upgrades will actually be influenced, by these amplifiers that you get, these augmentations, and it's not always passive. Sometimes they'll actually change the way some of these items work, and that's just kind of another dimension to the way the itemization works in the game.
Awesome. All right, talk to me about the skills and abilities that your character has that aren't necessarily part of his first 4. There's a word for it. It's a 2-word thing. One of and then spells. It begins with an S, ends with an uminers. But talk to us Talk to us about that in your game, because I think it's a pretty unique spin on it. How do you go about acquiring those?
Yeah, so I think what you're referring to is stolen powers. So basically, this is similar to a summoner skill, right? So basically, this sits outside your basic skill set. These are things that you acquire over time. You start with some. So an example would be super strength. So let's say I have super strength. That means I apply that to my character. That's going to allow me to pick up a car and throw it. Now Superman is going to naturally have that kind of ability, but let's say I'm playing another character, or I have another character in my roster that I want to play. Once I've mastered Superman, that actually becomes a power that I can steal, basically loan to others of my characters. So maybe I have Joker. Joker isn't naturally someone who's going to pick up a car and throw it, but if I have stolen power, super strength, then there are opportunities for me to actually let Joker pick up a car and throw it, because let's face it, you want to throw a car if you can. Then all of these, or most of these stolen powers, allow you to interact with the map. So, it might be I blow something up which creates a hot spot in the world, that I can catch you. Or maybe it's a proximity mine where I can actually plant it, and it'll booby trap and go off. Or it gives me like these powers, stolen powers, like the super strength I talked about before. These are all things that you can mix and match and apply to your character, before you go into the match. They also are different depending on the characters you apply them to. So super strength is not exactly the same for Superman, for example, as it might be for Catwoman or somebody else. So there's this, again, kind of some texture and dimension to the way these things all fit together.
It's also a really cool incentive to get everybody to go try out all the different heroes, and maybe they'll end up liking someone that they never thought they would. Like Gaslight Joker probably wasn't my first choice, but I played him, and now he's definitely going to be my main. So let's talk about skins, because there are skins for this game. However, I would almost say that the iterations of Batman are skins in their own right. So how do you kind of differentiate and separate between, okay, this guy is going to be a different iteration of Batman, and this one's going to be a skin for that iteration?
It really comes down to if the character lends itself well to a unique power set, then we're definitely going to use that for a unique character with his own power set. We want to have at least 2, maybe 3 for each of the major iconic characters. If it's like, we just think it'd be really cool, to have this character be, we have a Kabuki skin for some of our characters, right? And it looks awesome. It doesn't necessarily, inform a new play style that we want. We just want you to look cool in a different way. So it's really just looking at the character, and Nightmare Batman, right, has a unique kind of personality that lends itself to a kind of power set and some skills. He's got an ult where he's biting your neck, which is kind of cool, right? But other skins, it makes more sense really just to say, this is an opportunity for us to give you kind of different look, differentiates a little bit. We're actually, even with our skins, trying to differentiate with silhouette as well. So it's not just like changing the texture and the color of the skin. I think you probably noticed that they are fundamentally look different than the characters, even if it's not a new power set. Even the skins actually kind of change the shape of the character. So we're going to get this real wild, diverse kind of look across the map of all these different types of characters.
Awesome. So how many game types are you going to offer at launch?
We're working on 3 maps right now, which basically means 3 modes. We're in the process of working on them, playing them ourselves all the time. This is going to take quite some time, but we intend to get all 3 maps out to players sometime this year. We started with sort of the circular, capture point, Dominion-esque kind of map, because we felt like that was quick play, a good way to get players in early, during beta. It's sort of an easier kind of mode to get into. We're working really hard on a tri-lane map now, and really the challenge for us is working all the destruction and catastrophic events into it without fundamentally changing it. We know how important that's going to be for competitive players, right, to have that map and that 3-lane kind of environment be what they expect. So we're working really hard on that. And then we have a third map, which is going to be kind of special, that we're not talking about any details about, but it's a custom map that we've kind of invented, which again, very much a MOBA map, a lot of things that you expect, but it's built around this whole concept of catastrophic events, and it's kind of a neat twist on things.
I don't want to ask the question, do you have esports aspirations? Because every game has esports aspirations, but how much of your resources do you think are kind of committed to esports, and is that something that you are super serious about in your game?
Yeah, it's an integral part of what we're doing. We've talked about it from the very beginning. It's definitely something we're serious about. It's been part of the design. Even some of the things we talk about, like the destruction on the map and some of the things that happen in the dynamic nature of the map makes it really great for competitive sports from a sort of spectator point of view. It makes it really cool to actually watch the matches. Our whole focus on making sure that this game plays exactly the way that, core players are going to expect it to play is towards sort of the pro player. We want people to come in and feel like, yeah, I can actually pick this up, I can jump in, I can really compete in this game, I can really grow my skill, and it'll be worth something, and I'll be able to show off and really kick butt. So we're putting a lot of resources toward it, including support for the kinds of things that you would expect in a competition, stuff like that. We have a lot of plans for the future we're not talking about yet, but it's a huge part of our strategy. We feel like the pro players and the core players are really the people who drive why this is happening in the first place. So we want to get everybody on board with our game, really feel like this is the game that they want to play, and then we feel like a lot of other people will follow.
Awesome. Let's talk about the nitty-gritty. That was a very overarching, beautiful speech you just gave, but let's talk about last hitting. It's handled a little bit differently in your game. I'm a fan. Why don't you tell the rest of the good people at home how that works?
Yeah, this is something that's actually still in process, but we do have last hitting in the game, but what we have also is that it's almost like loot dropping in a way. It's that you kill a minion and it drops an icon that's essentially a way for you to pick up what we call merit, but essentially gold. So you still have the ability to last hit, to actually get your gold and build your gold up, but you have this ability to kill something, have it drop that loot, and then you kind of have this strategic choice. Am I going to take the time to go pick that up, or am I going to go run to what I got to do at the next capture point? You will still be able to last hit, and it'll probably give you some kind of benefit in that, in other words, I get the gold right away, I don't have to take the time to go pick it up, or maybe it'll give me a bonus. So the idea is that, for the pro players, for the people that are more experienced, that's a mechanic that I think everybody really wants. They're used to it. It's a significant part of the strategy of the gameplay. For people who are just kind of getting into it, sort of newer players to the MOBA environment, it's a little easier to kind of get a hang of like, look, I just want to go in and I want to start killing things and I want to get some stuff so that I can go back to the store and actually start to level up a little bit so I don't feel like, I need to understand everything before I can even get ahead in the game, right? So we think if we can balance it right, it gives us the entry point for certain players and then still gives the pro players and the core players an ability to do all the stuff they're used to.
I was pretty impressed. I mean, the character I picked had a mechanic that healed him when he picked up those coins. I was like, oh, it's a new mechanic, and you already have a mechanic that's working with it. So I was impressed with that. Yeah. And I think overall the game felt great. I don't want to give any inside information to investors, but so when can people look forward to seeing this? It's already pretty far along, but do you have an official date for beta or launch or anything like that?
So we announced yesterday, and part of that was that people can go to infinitecrisis.com, sign up for beta, and then very soon we're going to start inviting people into essentially what is our closed beta. People are going to start playing, and then we're just going to start growing those invitations and growing the audience and see how things go. We're going to listen to what everybody has to say, make the game better, and our goal is to be essentially public with this game by late fall this year.
Awesome, Jeff. Thank you so much for joining me.
I appreciate it, man.